Here we go. We are recording in 3, 2, and 1.
I will not get mad. Did you get the brain of Hans Delbruck? No. Okay. Whose brain did you get?
Abby, normal.
You mean I put the brain, an abnormal brain, in an 8-foot tall, 3-foot wide gorilla?
Awesome. Welcome to episode 123 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Episode 123. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. Gonna be a good week. Good week. We got our pool finished. Finally.
Yay!
Haven't been in the actual pool. The water's too cold, but have been in the jacuzzi pretty much every night.
Unkinking the old back, as it were.
Trying to, yeah. So that's been nice. It'll be really good for the summers down here, which are sweltering. So glad to have all that work in our yard done. That was long. So,
I'll post some pics. You send me some pics. I'll post some pics on TikTok.
Don't post the pics. That might actually get somebody to be able to triangulate me.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Let's not do that. My poor sister has COVID.
Aww.
Yeah, she caught COVID. She's feeling pretty bad. So sucks that's still out there running around. I hate it.
Running around.
Yeah, I got my booster for COVID and flu and felt terrible for about 24 hours, but other than that, I'm just knock on wood. Hopefully never get it. I don't want it.
Yeah, I've had it twice. It's terrible. I've had it twice and been boosted and vaccinated. So, ugh.
I somehow I've avoided it this whole time. I have no idea.
You.
I have no idea.
Well, don't you remember back in the day we were all afraid of SARS?
Oh yeah.
Like, well, COVID is a SARS variant. So yeah, they were right. They were just 10 years too early.
Although I say that, we theorized potentially may have had it before it was widespread because there were 3 of us that were just sick as a dog.
Yeah.
And had a cough that lasted like 2 months and it's just awful. I mean, got tested for the flu back then and they tested negative for the flu. So had something for sure. I don't know. Anyway, with that, Zig, I will let you take over on the nerdery side of the house.
Excellent. We were kicking this idea around about our top 5 laugh out loud movies, and that is the criteria was movies that make us laugh every time we see them.
Right. And laugh out loud, not just a little giggle or anything. These have
actually
huge laughs.
There was only one crossover. So we have a list of 14 movies between Geoffrey, myself, and Will. The crossover is The Hangover. So
yeah.
So yes, 14 movies all the way up. The first one we're going to talk about is The Jerk.
Outstanding. I just rewatched this, and this was actually the impetus for me suggesting this. As I saw The Jerk listed on Netflix, and I'm like, God, I haven't watched that in a long time. I'm going to watch it. And it was, again, laugh out loud funny.
Oh, my God, yeah. When he's getting shot out, he
hates these cans.
He hates these cans. Oh, my God, I was laughing. Cree walks in. She starts laughing. She's like, I love this movie. I'm like, I know.
It's an outstanding movie.
It is a 1979 American comedy film directed by Carl Reiner and written by Steve Martin, Carl Gottlieb, and Michael Elias, from a story by Steve Martin and Carl Gottlieb. This was Martin's first starring role in a feature film. The film also features Bernadette Peters, M. Emmett Walsh, and Jackie Mason. Jackie Mason is the best in this. I love him in this. When he's showing Naven around the bathroom, and he's like, no, no, no,
Uh-huh.
no, no, your room's in here. Oh,
I'm not going to have to
okay.
change this at all. And I saw an interview with Steve Martin over this. A lot of the ideas for this movie came from skit ideas that he had.
Yeah, yeah. When he was working with the Smothers Brothers,
Uh-huh.
him and Bob Einstein were writing partners a lot. Oh my God, those two funny dudes. I don't know how you could stand to be in the room at the same time. Watching them make this movie, if you watch real close, and I mean real close, he breaks up Bernadette Peters a couple of times in that
Mm-hmm.
movie, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see her just turn her face. She just
Yeah.
turns her head. Um, he doesn't really break up Emmett Walsh, and Jackie Mason doesn't get broke up, but Jackie Mason looks like he's about to start laughing anyway, so it's kind of hard to tell. Oh, but yeah, he wrote this about skits. He had some notes. The studio read them carefully. It described a series of odd jobs and the lead character would hold in his saga. Martin developed the concept into the first draft of The Jerk, but Paramount passed on the project after uh, David Pickler left the studio. However, Pickler convinced his new employer, Universal, to sign a distribution deal for it. Um, Martin initially chose Mike Nichols for playing Maven Johnson, but Nichols bowed out of the project in '78. Or as a director, Martin's next choice was Carl Reiner, and Carl Reiner was like, "Yeah, I'm in. This sounds this sounds hysterical." Um, but Martin recounted in his memoir, it needs to be something short. You have the feeling of an epic tale like Dostoevsky's The Idiot, but not like that. It needs to be like The Jerk. And this movie did really, really well.
Yeah.
It had a $4.6 million budget, and it made, I think, 10 times that. Plus, it was real big on video when it eventually got to video, even though it was released in '79. But yeah, a lot of people watch this movie. This movie played on television. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
loved this movie,
Yeah.
and it's funny. It's not just Steve Martin. Everybody in this movie is funny. Carl Reiner in this movie is also very funny.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the guy goes from rags to riches to rags to semi riches again.
Mm-hmm.
And he opens up on this farm in the middle of nowhere, um, and he's a white kid being raised by a black family.
Well, no, he opens up on the steps of an alleyway
That's true.
in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
I
Skid
assume
Row.
probably yeah on Skid Row, where he starts the story.
Yeah, I was born a poor black child. It's like what? And then he explains, yeah, he was raised by a black family, and they love him like everybody else.
You mean I'm going to stay this color?
But poor kid. He's such a sympathetic character and kind. Um, I think Dave Spade cribbed a lot of his ideas from Joe Dirt from The Jerk.
Mm-hmm.
It was just this quintessentially upbeat character who life kicks the shit out of, and it's funny. It's really really funny, and the people he meets along the way. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, you should get out there and check it out. I've added some scenes in our playlist so you can go and see some of that stuff. I think I actually added the can scene because it's so funny. Um, but yeah, that's it for The Jerk. The next film we're going to talk about is The Hangover. The Hangover is a 2009 American comedy film directed by Todd Phillips and written by John Lucas and Scott Moore. It was the first installment in the Hangover trilogy. The film stars Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, Zach Galifianakis, Heather Graham, Justin Bartha, Ken Jeong, and Jeffrey Tambor. And it tells the story of Phil Winnick, Stu Price, Alan Garner, and Douglas Billings, who travel to Las Vegas for a bachelor party to celebrate Doug's impending marriage. However, Phil, Stu, and Alan wake up with Doug missing and no memory of the previous night's events and must find the groom before the wedding can take place. Um, Ed Helms gets to bust out with a few songs in this one, which is amazing because Ed Helms is really musically gifted, really funny. There's a subplot where they end up stealing Mike Tyson's tiger. They get into a fist fight with him. It's just crazy. It's insane.
They don't get into a fist fight with Tyson. Tyson just knocks Allen out.
Yes, just knocks him smooth out.
Yes. This movie, from start to finish, laugh out loud funny. There
Yes.
is hardly a moment in the movie that's not funny.
Yeah.
Everything that happens to them as they go back and backtrack their way through the night to try to find Doug is just hysterical.
And
And
what's really funny is the clues to where Doug is are in the first 10 minutes of the film.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's all there. And you said a trilogy, and it's the second one was decent. It's fun enough to watch again.
Mm-hmm.
The third one, they just mailed it in, and it was
Yeah.
just not really good at all. They were trying to recapture the magic of the first one, but that first one is just brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we saw this movie. This was our first guys' day out
Mm-hmm.
when we saw this movie. That was we went and saw that and hung out all day and everything like that. Sad note is that's also the day I learned that my late father had prostate cancer, stage 4. Unfortunately, it was that day.
That day.
But yeah, I have watched this movie time and time and time and time and time again, and I can't get enough of this movie. It's just great.
It's a funny one. I have to admit it is really really laugh out loud funny. It's the first time I'd ever really gotten a good look at Ken Jeong. And this is before I discovered him in Community. Oh my God, he's insane. Ken Jeong is so funny in this. Um,
That's part of what's wrong with 2 is there's too much of him.
Too much Ken Jeong.
Too much of that character. Yeah, too
Leslie
much.
Chow.
Yeah,
Leslie Chow. Yeah, there is too much of him because he actually shows his actual penis.
that's in the first one.
No, it's in the second one.
No, it's in the first
The
one.
monkey.
Then they show it in both because they show it in the first one too when he jumps out of the trunk completely nude.
Yeah, except for boots.
Right.
Ken Jeong, not afraid to get naked
No.
for comedy's value. Yeah, I would agree. This is also a laugh out loud one. Every movie in this list, I think, is laugh out loud funny. We are on Geoffrey's list, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that at the top of the show. We'll go down the list. Geoffrey's is The Jerk, The Hangover, Young Frankenstein, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Blazing Saddles. So we'll start there. The next film is Young Frankenstein, which is where we cribbed the stab. It's a 1974 American comedy horror film directed by Mel Brooks. The screenplay was co-written by Brooks and Gene Wilder. Wilder also stars as the lead role as the title character, a descendant of the infamous Dr. Victor Frankenstein. Peter Boyle portrays the monster. The film co-stars Terry Garr, Cloris Leachman, Marty Feldman, Madeline Kahn, Kenneth Mars, Richard Hayden, and Gene Hackman. The film is a parody of the classic horror film genre, and particularly the various film adaptations of Mary Shelley's 1818 novel Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. It was produced by Universal Pictures in the 1930s. Much of the lab equipment used as props was created by Kenneth Strickfaden for the 1931 film. They used it in Young Frankenstein. That was why it looks so real. Young Frankenstein is also, even though it was made in 1974, is in black and white. And I'm going to be honest, if it were in color, it wouldn't work.
I'd agree. I agree. It's a brilliant movie. I mean, this is so just brilliant Mel Brooks.
And half of the laugh out loud funny bits are just little quips. Just little quick. Oh, what great knockers. Oh,
thank you, Doctor. Bluga, Bluga.
I ain't got nobody and nobody. I'm sorry. Marty Feldman just turns on the charm in this film, and he's so charming through the whole thing as the assistant Igor.
What
Gene
hump?
Wilder
What
when he
hump?
Gene Wilder when he refers to his grandfather's work as doo-doo is hysterically funny. I think I put that scene in there. Werewolf. No. Their wolf. Their castle. Why are you talking this way? I thought you wanted to. Just bam, bam, bam. Of course, it's Mel Brooks doing little Yiddishkeit bits like he used to do with Carl Reiner. Just bap, 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 bap. In the midst of that, they're telling the Frankenstein story. Or actually more like The Son of Frankenstein from the 1930s. And oh my God, it looks like a 1930s film, even though it was made in 1974. Kind of experimental. And it's that deep, oversaturated black and white. I don't know how they got that effect, because like the reason the 1930s oversaturated black and white looks the way it does is because it was shot on nitrate film, which you can't use anymore. You couldn't use it in 1974. So I don't know how he got those oversaturated black and white bits. The cinematography in it is brilliant. If nothing else, like they didn't have the technology to make it look that way for a couple of decades. So I don't know how he did it. I'm wondering if he shot it on nitrate and then moved it over to celluloid just to get that effect. I don't know. But if he did, it would have been illegal because nitrate film is highly flammable.
Right. That's why they don't use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a ban on it in the 40s. It was deemed culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant, and the United States National Film Preservation Board put it in to the Library of Congress's place so it can be saved for posterity. It is a brilliant, brilliant film. Brooks considers it by far his finest film, although he doesn't think it's his funniest.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks, as far as the way it was made, it's probably the best piece he's got, and I would agree with him. Again, if nothing else, for the fact that he was able to recapture that 1931 black and white film, and it looks like it was made in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you wouldn't know. Maybe the first scene, because the clothes are a little different in the first scene. But the way he shot it, it doesn't look like a modern film at all. It looks like a one from, pre-Hays Code Hollywood. It's amazing, and it's laugh out loud funny.
Yes.
The next film is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, and
I just watched this yesterday.
Well, and I mentioned this one before. I've seen it many times. When we did our favorite holiday episodes, we were both shocked later when we were like, how did we forget Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
Because it's a Thanksgiving movie.
Yes. But it is a holiday movie, and that's what that was. It wasn't necessarily Christmas. We said holiday.
Yes, that's true.
But this movie is brilliant, able to be watched time and time again, and it's funny every single time.
I was laughing out loud so there's this scene where they've rented a car and they're driving across country, and John Candy's trying to get his jacket off, and they've drifted over to the wrong side of the highway. And so they're driving along, and they're people that try to pass by them, and they're yelling at them, and they're like, those people are drinking. And then they look up, and there's two semis heading towards them, and they go in between the two semis. You get a shot of Steve Martin, and I watched it yesterday, closing his eyes, opening them, and he's a skeleton screaming. And it pans over to John Candy. He's a skeleton screaming. Steve Martin closes his eyes again, opens them, and he looks over at John Candy. He's the devil, and he's laughing at him.
Yeah.
They finally get the car off of the wrong side of the road and stopped, and they're both leaning against the front of the car, and Steve Martin has to pull his fingers out of the dashboard and their imprints, and John Candy has bent the steering wheel over forward. 5 minutes, I could not stop laughing. Lorelai's like, "What are you laughing at?" And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny." I was like, "Oh my God, you have no idea." She's like, "I don't think it's that funny." And I'm like, "You're 9."
It's outstanding. And Steve Martin as the stand-up guy.
Yes.
He's the everyday ordinary guy, and he is the stand-up guy that just everything goes wrong for.
Everything goes wrong for. And he's I'll be honest, he's kind of an asshole towards
Oh
the
gosh,
John
yes.
Yeah, John Candy's character.
Not even kind of. He is a big asshole to
Yeah.
John Candy's character.
Yeah. Because he feels like John Candy, because at the opening, he's trying to run to catch this plane, and as he's going to this cab where he's running against Kevin Bacon, by the way, he trips over this trunk. So he misses the cab, and then he finally runs and gets another cab, and he pays this guy $75 to get this cab. He's having a conversation with him. And then while that's happening, Dell is getting the cabbie to help him load his trunk and gets to the cab and takes off with it.
Dell Griffith.
Through the story, you come to find out, you think Dell may be a huckster, but he's not. He's a kind person who makes friends everywhere he goes. He's a traveling salesman. He's just enjoys life and everything else. You find out that Dale always works on the holidays because his wife died. You don't know that at the opening of the film. You don't find that out until the very end, when Steve Martin is riding the train home and puts 2 and 2 together and comes back and grabs Dale and says, "Come on, come with me." And you see them walking into the house, and Dale's like, "I'll just stop in and say hi." Dale, just go inside.
Once again, spoilers.
Just be here with us. It was released in 1987.
Still, spoilers into the movie.
Just be here with us, and it's beautiful and sweet, and it's John Hughes. And it stars Steve Martin and John Candy, with supporting roles by Lila Robbins and Michael McKean. It tells the story of Neil, a high-strung marketing executive in
God. They consider that a supporting role for Michael McKean when he's just in it for a scene.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I didn't know that considered. I mean, I guess that's what a supporting role is. I don't know, but he's just in it for one scene.
Yeah, he's in it for one scene, but it's a great scene.
Yes.
Yeah, their car after the big spiral out that we spoke about, their car catches on fire and they have to put it out, and they're driving down the road and the speedometer doesn't work. It's a rental.
God, and speaking about Michael McKean, that makes me think of another one I could have put on this list: is Young Doctors in Love.
Young Doctors in Love.
I could have put that on this one. Oh, anyway.
So yeah, it all revolves around these guys getting from New York to Chicago for a Thanksgiving Day dinner. And they end up they finally get on the plane. The plane doesn't go to Chicago O'Hare, it goes to Kansas City. So they have to go from Kansas City to St. Louis, and from St. Louis up to Chicago. And it's 3 days of craziness. Because Neil is trying to get back that night so he can go to his kids' program and everything for Thanksgiving.
Steve Martin's character, Neil.
Yeah, Steve Martin's character, Neil, who is uptight.
Yes.
Not necessarily a bad guy, but he's an asshole to Dale, because he kind of thinks he's better than Dale.
Right.
Or Dell.
Dell.
And turns out he's not. Dell is the milk of human kindness boiled down into a character. Oh my God. And it was made in 1987. Dell smokes the whole time. Dell smokes through the whole movie. He always has a cigarette in his hand and a drink. And it's like, I know dudes like that. I know salesmen who always had a drink and always had a cigarette all through the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. And just beautiful. I love this movie. I just watched it again. I would recommend it to anybody. It's a good holiday movie. There is one scene where the F word is used a lot between Neil and Edie McClurg.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
I want a fucking car.
Do you have your receipt? No, I threw
No,
it away. Well, I
you're
guess you're
fucked.
Oh my God, it's so good. As a matter of fact, I think I included that scene. If not, I'm going to put it in. Um, so funny. If you've never seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I want to say it's on Tubi. Like I said, I just watched it yesterday.
Shoot, I'll find out here real quick.
You guys need to get out and see it. It's really really good and really really funny, and it's a slice of Americana from the mid '80s. I mean, it is a mid '80s film, up one side and down the other.
Pluto, Showtime, Hulu,
There you go.
Fubo, Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime.
There you go. Yeah, you can see it all over the place. The next film on our list is Blazing Saddles. Blazing
Holy
Saddles,
movie.
also outrageously well written. The original script was written by Richard Pryor, um, and it's about race relations in the 1880s in the West.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one way to put that. As a matter of fact, originally it's also a Mel Brooks film. Originally, Mel Brooks wanted Rich for the movie, and he got him because he was working with Gene Wilder, and Gene Wilder and Rich were friends because they made a bunch of movies together about this time.
Mm-hmm.
And Rich sat down, wrote the first draft of the script, and says, "Okay, here's how it goes." And when they got to the casting, Richard Pryor said, "No, no, you can't use me. You need a brother. You need a brother." And this is a direct quote. "You need a brother who is dark-skinned."
Hmm.
He was like, point blank. Otherwise, the jokes will sound racist. This brother needs to be dark-skinned, and he needs to be funny and urbane. And the only guy that I can think of that fits that criteria is Cleavon Little. And they went and cast him the next day.
Interesting.
Yep. Yeah, Richard Pryor was like, "You have to get Cleavon Little. That's the only dude I know who can pull this off, and it not come across as being racist." And it doesn't. It doesn't. It does not come across that way.
Yes, it does. Oh my God, yes, it does.
No. It comes across as every redneck white dude is a moronic peckerwood.
And
That's how it comes
across. And racist.
Yes. But the film itself is not racist. You get what I'm saying?
No. No. It's a movie that could not be done today. Could not be done today.
I don't know. I mean, if you did it the right way, I think you could probably get out with it. But I'm with Rich. It has to be done from the right point of view. The Native Americans in the film, when he's telling his life story on how they got out to the West, when they pull up and they start talking to the family, which is Mel Brooks as the Indian chief, Feathers Indian. I mean, he looks like a wooden cigar Indian. He's speaking Yiddish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all Yiddish, and it's like, oh, ooh, that could be construed as being rough. And Lily von Stup's bit, they make fun of Germans. They make fun of
Madeline Kahn.
Oh my God. The cast includes Slim Pickens, Alex Karras, David Huddleston, Dom DeLuise, Madeline Kahn, Harvey Korman. Count Basie has a cameo in it.
Alex Karras as Mongo.
Slim Pickens mentions the wide world of sports. It breaks into a Hollywood musical at one point during the fight scene. This movie breaks down toward the end on purpose.
Oh yeah, it's complete chaos.
Absolute chaos. And one of my favorite lines in the whole movie, it's like, Sheriff, you can't leave. Well, be honest, it's getting pretty damn dull around here. As he rides off into the sunset. It has also been listed by the Library of Congress and selected for preservation in the National Film Registry. A lot of times when they show this movie, they will put a proviso about this film because this film was from a certain time period. I want to dispel all that. This movie takes point blank aim at racism and racist people and tries to portray them all as idiots. Yeah. That was its point. And it does it beautifully because every racist is a moron and probably inbred. You know they're inbred because they all have the same last name.
Right.
But yeah, I think this movie could be done again. It just you'd have to thread the needle the right way.
I don't think you can at all. But you need to see this movie.
Oh my God, yeah. For nothing else, it also pokes fun at the Wild West genre because back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, everybody was cowboy movies and we're from Texas. We're going to let you know right off the bat, all of that is bullshit. None of that is correct. The best lawman in the area was a black dude named Bass Reeves. Mm-hmm. He took down everybody.
Is that who that new TV show's about?
Yes, it is, and it is real good.
Heard it is.
Yeah, and not only that, but you get to hear Nadine spoken beautifully. And you don't, that old Creek language, there are very few speakers of that language anymore. And they speak it a lot because that's what they were speaking in Oklahoma at the time and, the northern part of Texas. But yeah, it's the Wild West genre, the cowboy movies, the John Wayne. Yes, they're good pieces of fiction. They're good pieces of, but a lot of people for a long time took that as historically accurate. No, that's not even close, man. This place was wild and nuts, and it's still wild and nuts. But yeah, so Blazing Saddles takes point aim at that and again drops it on its ear by busting it through Hollywood studios at the very end of the movie. That does it for Geoffrey's list. And again, Geoffrey's list is The Jerk, The Hangover, Young Frankenstein, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Blazing Saddles. My list consists of UHF, Grandma's Boy, Half Baked, Friday After Next, and Joyride. UHF, released internationally as The Vidiot, from UHF, is a 1989 American comedy film starring Weird Al Yankovic, David Bowie, Fran Drescher. I'm sorry, David Bowe. I should say that. Not David Bowie, David Bowe. Fran Drescher, Victoria Jackson, Kevin McCarthy, Michael Richards, Stanley Brock, Geddy Wanatabe, Billy Barty, Anthony Geary, Emo Phillips, and Trinidad Silva. This is also Trinidad Silva's last film. The film is dedicated to Silva, who died shortly after filming Wrapped. The film was directed by Jay Levy, Yankovic's manager, who also co-wrote the screenplay with him. The film was originally released by Orion Pictures and is currently owned by MGM. Yankovic and Levy struggled to find a production company to finance the film, but were eventually able to get Orion support after stating that they could keep the film cost under $5 million. Principal photography took place around Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's actually where the film is set, too. Yankovic stars as George Newman, a shiftless dreamer who stumbles into managing a low-budget television station and surprisingly finds success with his eclectic programming choices, spearheaded by the antics of a janitor turned children's television host, Stanley Spadowski. He provokes the ire of a major network station that dislikes the competition upstart. The title refers to ultra-high frequency analog television broadcast band on which such low-budget television stations were often placed in the United States. So, kids, we are now on digital television, so UHF means nothing. Back in the day, we had VHF, which was all your major channels. All your networks were on VHF. And we had UHF, which was the higher number channels that all your local stations were on. In some cases, you would have a local station on a VHF band, but usually it was reserved for the UHF stations. One of our guests, Trey Cadenhead, his dad is in this movie. His dad is the car salesman.
And see, and I don't remember much about this movie. I've only seen it once, and it was a very long time ago. I just I don't know. I didn't find it laugh out loud funny. I mean, you talk about Victoria Jackson. Victoria Jackson is a hysterical actress. She's so funny, going back to her SNL days and everything like that. If you're going to give me Victoria Jackson, I would rather see her in Casual Sex, the movie with Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah. Oh, I liked
And
her
her,
in Casual Sex. She was good in that.
yeah,
But in this one, it's mostly
mostly,
David, mostly it's
mostly.
mostly David Bowe, Al Yankovic, Michael Richards, and oh my God, there's some really really funny bits in this. Getty Wanatabe is also great in this. He plays the owner of a karate studio, and they give him his own show called Wheel of Fish,
Mm.
which it's like, let's make a deal, but you win fish. Emo Phillips is the local high school woodshop teacher, and he goes on and starts giving a demonstration on how to use a table saw and cuts his own thumb off. Oh my God. This movie is so insane. And you get Weird Al. Weird Al starts to do these dream sequences. So you get these weird dream sequences where he thinks he's Rambo, or he will do one of his songs, um, like the Beverly Hillbillies, which is Money for Nothing. Um, I love this movie. I've seen it hundreds of times. It's still funny. The scene where he thinks he's Rambo because he's going to save Stanley Spadowski is hysterical. The Stanley Spadowski's show where the kid finds a marble in this kiddie pool full of oatmeal and goes, "Oh, okay, you won the special prize. You get to drink from the fire hose." They put the kid on a little wooden horse and turn a fire hose on him. I'm laughing about it just thinking about it.
I don't often find movies too silly to watch, but as you're talking about this, I'm remembering more and more. This one was just too silly for me to watch again and again. I just I don't know. So yeah, so this one's a little too silly for me.
Right on. Well, the next one is probably going to be just as silly. It's Grandma's Boy.
Did not like this movie. Didn't like it.
It is a 2006 American stoner comedy film directed by Nicholas Gosen, written by Barry Wernick, Alan Covert, Nick Swartzen. It stars Linda Cardinelli, Alan Covert, Peter Dante, Shirley Jones, Shirley Knight, Joel David Moore, Kevin Nealon, Doris Roberts, Nick Swartzen. Jonah Hill is also in it. I don't mention him in this list, which I thought this was like one of his first movies. The film features a video game tester who is forced to move in with his grandmother after being evicted from his home while falling for a woman who was sent to oversee the production of his video game company's newest video game. Game developer Terminal Reality was involved in the film's production, lending footage to promote the game Demonic. Although the game was canceled before the film's release, the footage remained in the final cut. So I think they eventually released a Demonic because of the movie. This movie is it's a cult movie because it's from Adam Sandler's production company. And it really goes. This movie is only marginally funny up until a point. After that particular point, it gets insane, and I can't stop laughing. The point is where he goes to stay with Nick Swartzen, who lives with his parents, and he he takes Nick Swarsten's little, what is it, a doll, um, Tomb Raider doll, and goes into the bathroom and starts pleasuring himself. And he turns around, and Nick Swarsten's mom is there, and it just gets funny after that. It stays funny for the rest of the film. I love this one. I think it's hysterical.
Couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand it.
You didn't like any of it?
No. No, could not stand this movie.
I think it's I laugh every time I see it. As a matter of fact, I went back and watched all of these films except for one recently, and it's the only film in the list. It's one of Will's that I have never seen. It's called Horrible Bosses. I've never seen Horrible Bosses.
I have.
We'll get to that one here in just a minute. My next one is Half Baked. It is a 1998 American stoner comedy film starring Dave Chappelle, Jim Breuer, Harlan Williams, and Guillermo Diaz. The film was directed by Tamara Davis, co-written by Chappelle and Neil Brennan, and produced by Robert Simons. The film received negative reviews, but has since become a cult hit. Chappelle and Breuer shared a manager and had previously planned on working together on the short-lived sitcom Buddies. And in the spring of 1996, both were working separately on marijuana-related film projects. Chappelle and Brennan's script was complete, so Breuer was asked to join their project. The movie was filmed in Toronto in the summer of 97. Dirty Work was filming at the same time, and the cast and crew stayed in the same hotel. Bob Saget, who directed Dirty Work, filmed a short uncredited cameo for Half Baked. Chappelle asked Harrison Ford to do a cameo in the film, but he declined. So Neil Brennan, when Dave Chappelle was getting the award, the Mark Twain Prize a couple of years ago, Neil Brennan gets up and tells the story of how Half Baked come around. Neil Brennan's sitting at home. Dave Chappelle calls him up and says, "Hey, if Universal asks you about a stoner movie that we're doing, you say yes." About a half hour later, he gets called by Universal, and they're like, "Okay, the stoner movie that you're doing with Dave Chappelle, how soon can you have a pitch?" And Neil Brennan said, 30 days. And so he hung up, and he was like, and 29 days later, I called up Dave and I said, "Hey, we really need to do something for this pitch on this stoner movie we're doing for Universal." And Dave's response was, "What stoner movie? I don't know what you're talking about." He said, so the last day they put this movie, the idea for this movie together, and presented it, and they gave them money. I don't know how much of that story is true, but it's really funny. And I may put it in the list.
The movie itself is extremely funny.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of scenes when Scarface quits his job. That is the funniest thing I think I've ever seen. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
You're cool.
Fuck you, I'm out. And then throws the burger in the guy's face. The guy's face who he throws the burger at is Neil Brennan.
Yeah.
But yeah, Neil Brennan and Dave Chappelle wrote this together with help from Jim Breuer and Guillermo Diaz also, and Harlan Williams kind of threw some stuff in. It is a cult film, but it did real well. It did okay in the theaters. This did really well on video, mostly because I think people like to smoke weed and watch it. But it's about these guys who are trying to save their friend from going to jail by selling weed that they're getting from a medical research company. It's hysterical. I love this movie.
Oh, it's a very, very funny movie. Let's pull it up, see if I could see the box office. Box office. It made 17 million.
Yeah,
on an $8 million budget, so yeah. not great.
Not great, but its video release or video sales are what jacked this movie up.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't lose money, but the video sales are what were nuts, because this thing was in heavy rotation at the video stores. It was in the new releases for like a year because everybody wanted to watch it over and over again because it's so funny and charming. This movie is charming. for a stoner movie. I want to talk to Samson. We used to work with a guy who you can get to go into hysterics. So there's a scene where Mr. Big has Scarface, one of the boys, in a headlock, and he's with a gun to his head. He says, "I'm going to kill your little Mexican friend." It's played beautifully by Clarence Williams. And Scarface says, "I'm Cuban B," and he goes, "Yes, Cuban B." This guy we know, Jimmy, can be drawn into hysterics by going, "Yes, Cuban B." And he just because that film that particular line tickles him a lot. Love that movie. My next film is Friday After Next. It is a 2002 American stoner comedy film directed by Marcus Raboy and stars Ice Cube, who also wrote the film, Mike Epps, John Witherspoon, Don D.C. Curry, Anna Marie Hosford, and Clifton Powell. It is the third installment of the Friday trilogy and tells the story of Craig and his cousin Day Day getting jobs as security guards at a shopping center where a robber dressed as Santa Claus breaks into their apartment, steals their presents and their rent money. This is to be given. That's supposed to be given to their landlady. The film was theatrically released on November 22nd, 2002, to generally negative reviews. Filming began on November 1st, 2001, and wrapped in January of 2002. Of the Friday films, I still think this is funny. I have gone back and watched the original Friday and Next Friday. I don't think they hold up nearly as well as this one. It is also a Christmas movie, which kind of helps. But Mike Epps is hysterical in this movie. Ice Cube is hysterical in this movie. Terry Crews and oh my God, I can't think of the dude's name. He plays the pimp who owns the clothing store.
In this movie?
Yeah. Oh my God.
I don't know. Since
Money.
Money Mike.
Money Mike.
I've never seen it, and now seeing who that is, I never will.
Cat Williams.
I can't stand Cat Williams. Can't stand him.
Terry Crews and Cat Williams, because Terry Crews has just got out of prison and sees Cat Williams as fresh meat and is trying to do things to him, and Cat Williams is running away. Oh my God, it is so funny. So funny.
Nope. Can't stand Cat Williams. Nope.
You don't like Cat Williams?
Can't stand him. Okay. He is one of those comedians that is entirely overly racist. Overly. And he uses the N-word angrily in his stand-up and in his material, and I can't stand it. It turns me off. I have 3 comedy stations that I listen to on XM, and when his name flashes up, gone, out, done.
See, I think Cat Williams is funny, especially in this. I like this better than his stand-up because I think his stand-up falls flat. I think you're right. He does rely a little too much on shock value.
Yep.
Some of his stuff is pretty funny, but yeah, I don't know. In this, he is really great as Money Mike because, oh my God, Terry Crews is after him. And Terry Crews is hysterical in this. It takes place around Christmas, and they're security guards. Maz Jobrani is the owner of the shopping center that they work at and runs a donut shop. It's just great. I love this movie, and there was a movie in Will's list that has basically the same production company called All About the Benjamins that was made in exactly the same time. I think Friday After Next is better than All About the Benjamins. We'll get to that one in a minute. Joyride is my last film in my list. Joyride is a 2023 American comedy film directed by Adele Lim in her feature directorial debut and written by Sherry Sheva Pravatum Durong and Teresa Hassau, from a story by Lim, Sherry, and Hassau. The film stars Ashley Park, Sherry Cola, Stephanie Hsu, and Sabrina Wu, with Ronnie Chang, Meredith Hanger, David Denman, and Mumlo, Timothy Simons, and Daniel Day Kim appearing in supporting roles. The film was announced in 2018 following the partnership deal between Point Grey Pictures and Lionsgate, with Lim being confirmed as the director in 2021. The cast was announced between August and October of the same year, and filming took place in British Columbia throughout the latter months. Okay, this film takes place mostly in China. If you wouldn't have told me this wasn't filmed, it was filmed in British Columbia, I wouldn't have believed you. It looks like they filmed most of this movie in China, but apparently they filmed it in BC. They could turn British Columbia into China because it looks like China. Because it's a road movie across China into Korea, back to China, and then back to the Pacific Northwest. On August 9th, 2018, it was announced that Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg were in negotiations to partner with Lionsgate through their production company, Point Grey Pictures. It's a first look deal to develop film and television projects. Adele Lim would make her feature directorial debut, as well as some of the writers. Sherry Cola and Stephanie Hsu were added to the cast. Daniel Day Kim was cast while working with Lim on Raya and the Last Dragon. They wanted Awkwafina in it, but she was too busy doing Raya, the Last Dragon, and that Jumanji movie at the same time, so she couldn't quite do it. Writers were considered an original composition for a scene where the characters pretended to be an idol group. They eventually decided that WAP served as the perfect song that really encapsulated this movie from a pivotal moment, leading Lim to write a letter to Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion asking for usage permission for them to do WAP. And they did it in the film. In February of 2023, the film's title was revealed to be Joy Ride. The film's working title was The Joy Fuck Club, because it was all Asian women on a tour across China, just being nuts, going crazy. I thought this was the funniest movie I've seen in a couple of years. I went into the theater with no expectations. I dropped K3 off because they were working that night and needed a ride, and I had nothing else to do. And they're like, "Why don't you go watch a movie?" So I went and looked, and I was like, "Oh, the right time. If I'll wait 30 minutes, watch this Joyride, and by the time I get out, they'll be ready to go." I was like, "Yeah, I can sit down and watch a movie, right? I didn't have to pay for it." No expectations. I sat down. I started laughing at the beginning of this movie and did not stop till the end of it. Came out of the theater. K3 was like, "I'm going to go ahead and work 45 more minutes." Went back into the movie theater and watched the first 30 minutes of the movie again.
See, and I saw the trailer. The trailer for this doesn't do it justice then, because I saw the trailer and I thought to myself, "Nah, this is going to be a stupid movie. No way, no way."
So this movie is so funny.
Then it's a bad trailer.
It is also, yeah, this trailer doesn't really show it. It's also very sweet, because it's about a lifelong friendship, and how that changes over time. But they end up becoming, the four of them, who are, I guess, kind of disparaged, become the best of friends because of what happens to them across China. And it's also about this. So there's this one Chinese American girl who was adopted and raised by the most Anglo parents you can think of. And she becomes best friends with this Chinese girl who just moved into town when they're like 4 or 5. And they show the opening scene. And they become best friends, and they're friends forever. And the one girl who's raised by the Anglo family, the white family, she gets a lot of crap because it's like, you don't know anything about your heritage, from the other white kids. And the Chinese girl wants to defend her because it's like, dude, shut up. You don't know. Why are you talking? And then they talk about being, there's a distinction between people who are Chinese and people who are Chinese. That's the way they say it, and that's people from China. Um, and you actually get to see some of the stereotypes that go on in Asian cultures, um, between Asian peoples that we don't even know about. I unless you know an Asian person, you wouldn't be introduced to this at all. Um, it's brilliant, and it's a mostly Asian cast. It takes place in Asia, although it was filmed in British Columbia, apparently. Um, but it's brilliant, and it's funny, and it's sweet, and I would like to see it a couple more times. I'm waiting for it to come out so I can purchase it, without costing me $30.
It's out. It's out according to IMDb. It's available on Prime for $5.99.
I may have to buy it for $5.99 on Prime.
It's only rent.
Oh, it's one of those ones that I want to buy because I'm going to watch it over and over again. It is so funny. It is also very, very dirty. It's like The Hangover. Okay, so the scene in Bridesmaids when they go to try on the dresses and they all get sick, and it's probably the funniest scene in the movie.
The rest of the movie, it's the only funny scene in the movie.
Okay, imagine the whole movie is that funny. That's what Joyride is.
Well, I ain't gonna pay for it. If it's free, maybe I'll give it a shot because, like I said, the trailer didn't do shit for me. If it winds up free, then maybe.
I watched it 1.5 times on the same day and laughed just as hard the second time. So funny, and again, and I think the reason it is so funny is because it is so sweet. Not only that, Cherry Cola, that's the moniker she goes by. She's a comic genius, and her timing is incredible, and I think that's most of it. Even when she's speaking Chinese, she gives a pause when she talks, and she smiles, and you get to read the subtitles of what she's saying. It is so funny. And I'm like, oh my God, how did she pull that off? Well, it's because she's a native Chinese speaker. She speaks, I think it's Cantonese, not Mandarin, because they're in southern China. But yeah, oh great. There's some vomit scenes, but again, it's not nearly as severe as the bridesmaid scene, but it's just as funny. But yeah, that's it. It's like Bridesmaids if Bridesmaids was as funny as that one scene. The next set of films is by Will. Money Talks, The Hangover, which we discussed, Horrible Bosses, All About the Benjamins, and Tropic Thunder. Money Talks is a 1997 American action comedy film directed by Brett Ratner. In his directorial debut, stars Chris Tucker and Charlie Sheen. It is the first of the 4 collaborations between Brett Ratner and Chris Tucker, the other 3 being the Rush Hour series. Money Talks was released on August 22, 1997 and grossed $48.4 million at the box office against a production budget of $25 million. It received generally negative reviews from the critics. Franklin Maurice Hatchett, a fast-talking, foul-mouthed, small-time car wash hustler and ticket scalper who owes money to a local mobster named Carmine. The police are informed of his crimes by an investigative news reporter named James Russell after Franklin unintentionally thwarts James' attempts to have him confess his crimes on camera, and he is arrested. When placed on a prison transport unit, he is handcuffed to a French criminal named Raymond Villard. The transport unit is attacked on the bridge, and mercenaries kill all the police officers and prisoners except for Franklin and Villard. The mercenaries are Villard's men, and because he's handcuffed to Franklin, he decides to bring him along, and they escape on a helicopter with another French criminal named Dubray. While on the helicopter, Franklin overhears the two discussing the locations of a cache of stolen diamonds. Franklin then jumps out of the helicopter after realizing that Villard and Dubray plan to kill him. Franklin is recognized by police officers, but is able to elude them, and he decides to call Russell after seeing his face in an advertisement. And Franklin cuts Russell in on the deal. Russell just wants a good story, but Franklin brings Russell into his world, and Franklin is a con man, so he's able to con his way in, and hilarity ensues. I like this movie. There are some scenes that are laugh out loud funny when Chris Tucker goes and does a toast and he starts quoting Barry White, and everybody's like, "Oh, brilliant!" And Morgan Fairchild's like, "Isn't that Barry White?" He's like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." It's a pretty funny scene. Um, this is one of the ones I haven't seen in a long time. All the rest of these I've seen recently.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this one.
Charlie Sheen cannot hold this movie up. Chris Tucker just fine. I'm okay with Chris Tucker because he's playing that fast talking dude. I like that character that he plays. It's mostly the character he plays most of the time, but he's good at it, so that's fine. The problem isn't with Chris Tucker. The problem is Charlie Sheen does not hold up his end of the bargain. Also, I think, Charlie Sheen was probably coked out of his mind while he was making this movie in 1997. Yeah, that's about right. But Chris Tucker is funny. Mostly when Chris Tucker is dealing with other people. But yeah, this one's okay. The Hangover, which we talked about already, is the next film. So we'll move on to the next one. The next one is Horrible Bosses. It is a 2011 American comedy film directed by Seth Gordon, written by Michael Markowitz, John Francis Daly, and Jonathan Goldstein, from a story by Markowitz. It stars Jason Bateman, Charlie Day, Jason Sudeikis, Jennifer Aniston, Colin Farrell, Kevin Spacey, and Jamie Foxx. The plot follows three friends, played by Bateman, Day, and Sudeikis, who decide to murder their respective overbearing, abusive bosses, portrayed by Spacey, Aniston, and Farrell. This movie did quite well. As a matter of fact, they made a sequel about it.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen this movie. This is the only movie I have.
It's pretty funny. I mean, it's not great. I wouldn't have put this in my top 5.
Is it laugh out loud funny? Maybe I should watch it today.
At times, it can be.
Is it like Bridesmaids? There's a colossally funny scene, and the rest of it just kind of clever.
It's hard for me to equate it to Bridesmaids because, like I said, Bridesmaids has one good piece of it. Other than that, blah.
So Horrible Bosses has more than one good piece.
Yeah, it really does. Colin Farrell is just fabulous as a terrible man. Kevin Spacey, Jennifer Aniston, it's just they're horrible bosses. It's worth a watch. I don't know that I would put it in my top 5, but it's worth a watch.
Okay. I may have to check this one out. And again, I'm sorry I tried to make it through the whole list. There was just a couple that I wasn't able to catch. Like Money Talks. I was like, okay, I can't watch Money Talks again because I got to watch all their, because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. So I'm like, I got to watch all of these movies again just so I can talk about them. This is the only one I didn't catch, and it was basically because I forgot that it was in the list. I was like, oh crap, I haven't seen Horrible Bosses yet. All the rest of them I've actually seen or seen recently. Most of them I've seen recently. But yeah, matter of fact, I went out and bought the next film we're talking about, All About the Benjamins. It was like for $3 on Amazon, whatever. But I wanted it so I could compare and contrast it, because when I started looking it up, I'm like, oh my God, it was made at the same time as one of my movies. So this should be, the same. It is not. It's an American buddy action comedy film directed by Kevin Bray. It stars Ice Cube and Mike Epps as a bounty hunter and a con artist who join forces to find a group of diamond thieves. The former for glory and the latter to retrieve his lost winning lottery ticket. The film was released in theaters in March 2002 to negative reviews. Despite this, the film was a moderate box office hit. The film's title was taken from a popular 1997 hip-hop song performed by Puff Daddy, It's All About the Benjamins. Ice Cube and Mike Epps also starred together in the Friday series and the 2009 film Janky Promoters. I sat down and watched. It's funny. I'm not saying it's not funny.
I didn't think this one is this great. I mean, this movie was trying to be was trying to be Rush Hour and Bad Boys
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
And it just doesn't. I don't understand how this goes in a top 5 laugh out loud list
yes. Where is Where?
because it's not.
It's no, it's not. It's not. It's not. I don't think it's bad, but it's not laugh out loud funny.
No.
As a matter of fact, at the exact same time, they're making Friday After Next, and Friday After Next. Every time I watch that movie, I laugh. Because it's the same production company, a lot of the same people too. I'm gonna say it again. I think it's funny. It's just not that funny.
I don't think so.
Yep.
I think Will's wrong on this one.
Yep. Will, you're wrong. Are you listening? Are you listening at all? You're editing this. Just so you know, you're dead wrong. The next film is Tropic Thunder. This is the last film on our list. Tropic Thunder is a satirical action comedy film directed by Ben Stiller, who wrote the screenplay with Justin Theroux and Ethan Coen. Film stars Stiller, Jack Black, Robert Downey Jr., Jay Baruchel, and Brandon T. Jackson as a group of prima donna actors making a Vietnam War film with their frustrated director Steve Coogan. Drops them in the middle of a jungle. They are forced to rely on their acting skills to survive the real action and danger. Tropic Thunder parodies many prestigious war films, specifically those based on Vietnam, modern Hollywood studio system, and method acting. The ensemble cast includes Nick Nolte, Danny McBride, Matthew McConaughey, Bill Hader, and Tom Cruise. Stiller developed Tropic Thunder's premise during the production of Empire of the Sun in the spring of 1987, and later enlisted Theroux and Coen to complete the script. I keep forgetting, Ben Stiller is in Empire of the Sun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The film was greenlit in 2006 and produced by Stuart Cornfield, Stiller, and Eric McLeod for Red Hot Productions and DreamWorks Pictures. It was an international co-production between the United States, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Filming took place in 2007 on the Hawaiian island of Kauai over 13 weeks and was the largest film produced in the island's history. The extensive marketing campaign included faux websites of 3 of the main characters and their fictional films, a fictional television special, and the selling of the energy drink advertised in the film, Booty Sweat.
Booty Sweat.
That was one of the famous. Paramount Pictures and DreamWorks released Tropic Thunder in the United States on August 13th, 2008. It received generally positive reviews for its character story, faux trailers, and cast performances, with Downey Jr. being the most positively praised for his performance. However, the depiction of a disabled people and the use of brown face makeup attracted controversy. The film opened at the top of the American box office and retained a #1 position of 3 consecutive weeks. While both he and Cruise received nominations for Golden Globe Awards.
And we've talked about this a little bit before because I know we disagree
Tom Cruise
on this
pisses
point.
me off in this.
I know he does, and I'm on the opposite side of this. I think Cruise is brilliant in this movie, absolutely brilliant. It is one of his best roles, and he was highly critically acclaimed for this role.
Yes, he was. It's probably the only decent acting role he's ever played, but he pisses me off.
I just don't understand. I don't understand.
He just does. He pisses me off. Tom Cruise pisses me off in everything he does. This was the only thing I ever saw that I ever thought that he did some acting chops in. And honestly, maybe they could have actually got a Jewish person to play the Jewish person. Maybe that would have been nice. Instead of making fun of Hollywood producers and guys. Although, and I will say this, I agree, Hollywood producer people need to be made fun of. Because Robert Downey Jr., he didn't get a lot of flack for this because he was making fun of actors.
Right.
He wasn't. It was like, no. These kind of super method actors who wear yellow face and brown face and stuff like that, who think they're the best when you could have just got somebody who matched the role. No, pay for this guy. You pay more money for this guy instead.
Right.
Yeah. No. He sold it on that. You know who really, really impressed me in this film? and he's in it for maybe 5-10 minutes. Matthew McConaughey.
He's in it for more than 5-10 minutes.
Is he in it for more than 5-10 minutes?
Oh gosh,
I
yes.
love him in this.
Yes, he's hysterical in this, and he's in it for a lot of it because he's in practically every scene with Tom Cruise.
Matthew McConaughey, I love in this movie.
He's brilliant. This movie is brilliant. It's a funny movie.
It is a funny movie.
It doesn't crack my top 5. I don't even know that it would crack my top 10.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a movie to see. It's very, very funny. It's hysterical. And judge it for yourself on the Tom Cruise part. I think it's brilliant. Zig thinks it's not. Judge it for yourself.
Yeah. I don't care for Tom Cruise anyway. I think he's a terrible actor. This is basically the best role he's ever done.
Yeah, and I disagree with you.
Jack Black is hysterical in this.
Yes. And sometimes Jack Black can be a little much for me. In this, it was perfect.
I love Danny McBride in this.
Yes.
I love Nick Nolte in this. I love Bill Hader in this. I love everybody in this movie with the possible exception of Tom Cruise. And honestly, he's not in it enough to ruin the movie. It's not like the Mission Impossible films.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no. I agree. This is a pretty funny one. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it's a top 5, but it is pretty funny. Jack Black playing a recovering drug addict who is out in the middle of the jungle going through a drug withdrawal meltdown so bad they have to tie him to a tree. All the while trying to get back. And again, Ben Stiller's playing this actor who did these action adventure movies, who made one movie where he was trying to cast against type and he went too far. So he's trying to bring his career back with this movie. Oh my God. Yeah, this movie's brilliant, and it makes fun of all up and down of Hollywood. I'm surprised it got released as badly as they make fun of Hollywood.
No, I'm not.
Specific people, i.e., they're making fun of Tom Cruise in this movie.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. I think, maybe when he read the script, he was too dumb to notice. Anyway, that's about it for our 14 films that we think are laugh out loud funny. I'm hoping that we'll throw something in the stab about this. I wish he'd come on with us.
Yeah, I wish he'd been here to defend us, and or defend his movies. But anyway, good stuff. Hopefully everybody gives those a whirl, and they can let us know what they think for themselves. With that, we'll step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off the Carly Ryan Foundation, Safe Surfing Foundation, Wikipedia, News Australia, the Herald Sun, and the Wicked Truth blog. And this is about the murder of Carly Ryan.
Carly Ryan.
So Carly Ryan was born on January 31st, 1992. She was an Australian teenager from Stirling, South Australia, who was catfished, lured, and murdered by a 50-year-old serial pedophile from Melbourne, Gary Francis Newman. In 2006, Carly Ryan thought she had met her dream boyfriend online. Gary Newman had posed as a fictitious 18-year-old boy named Brandon Kane, who had similar taste in music as Carly, as well as the fictitious boy's stepfather named Shane. Newman was into extreme pornography, in which women dressed as young schoolgirls, and he even tried to rape his own 13-year-old daughter after plying her with alcohol.
Wow.
Gary Newman was a brutal and sadistic pedophile with an ability to charm his way into the hearts of women before unleashing his monstrous intent, and Carly was by no means his first victim. He had promised to leave a girl in Singapore quote, looking like the packaged meat you get from Safeway when she rejected him. Newman, whose violent and barbaric history with women would only emerge later as he tried to evade prosecution, had 200 fake internet identities.
Holy crap.
He used a variety of perverted, risque names while communicating with teenage girls seeking to have sex with them. Using 2 fake accounts on the social media networking site MySpace, he groomed Carly for over 18 months. Carly fell in love with the Brandon construct during the 18 months of online contact and phone calls, and Carly told her mother that he made her feel special and was the boy of her dreams. Newman spent months masquerading as Brandon Kane to win Carly's love. Over those 18 months, Carly spent all of her free time chatting with Brandon online, but their relationship quickly turned toxic. He isolated Carly from her friends and sent her abusive messages, bad signs.
Mm-hmm.
And in one minute, Brandon was vicious and cold-hearted. The next, he was luring Carly in with sweet compliments. Carly often asked Brandon to visit her, but he always came up with an excuse why he couldn't. That was until she invited him to her 15th birthday party.
Ugh.
Newman eventually traveled from Melbourne to Stirling to attend Carly's 15th birthday party in January of 2007, but was told to leave by Carly's mother, Sonia Ryan, after he was caught behaving inappropriately towards her. Infuriated, Newman returned to Adelaide on February 19, 2007, alongside his 17-year-old son to pose as Brandon, and convinced Carly to meet them without telling her mother where she was going. During this meeting, Newman and his son took Carly to the Horseshoe Bay beach in Port Elliot, South Australia, and murdered her in the late night of February 19th by suffocating her with beach sand.
Ugh. Buried her alive with beach sand?
Suffocated her, stuffed her mouth with it.
Oh.
Her body was discovered floating in the water near the shore the following morning, and within 11 days of the murder, law enforcement tracked down Gary Newman's home and collected enough evidence to arrest him for Carly's murder. He was ultimately sentenced to life in prison with non-parole period of 29 years. The case, which highlighted the emerging phenomenon of catfishing, child grooming, and online predatory behavior, was unique at the time, given that Carly was the first person in Australia to be killed by an online predator. In the wake of the arrest and trial of Newman, public opinion eventually led to nationwide legal changes, nicknamed Carly's Law, that being made to help protect minors online.
You've talked about Carly's Law before.
Uh-huh. Yep. Carly lived in Stirling, South Australia with her mother, Sonia. And as I said before, approximately 18 months before death, while using MySpace and VampireFreaks.com, she befriended Brandon Kane, who was a fictitious Texan-born teen living in Melbourne, which eventually grew into an online and telephone romance. The character Brandon Kane was a Texas-born emo guitarist who lived in Melbourne with his stepfather, Shane. Carly was emo as well, who wore predominantly black clothing, heavy eyeshadow, and bright lipstick. In an interview with Studio 10, Sonia, her mother, stated on one occasion where she looked over Carly's shoulder while the latter was on the computer, she noticed a looped version of a boy typing, although at the time she didn't realize it was looped. At first, Sonia was concerned about their age gap, but she allowed the relationship to continue, believing that Brandon was a harmless teenager. Again, he was supposed to be 17, supposedly.
Yeah.
In January 2007, Gary Newman traveled from Melbourne posing as Shane, the father of Brandon, in order to give Ryan presents. Lingerie and a nurse's outfit.
Dude.
Presents from the non-existent Brandon. Carly believed the father was going to buy property in Adelaide for her and Brandon to live. After meeting her mother, he was then allowed to attend Carly's 15th birthday party and stay overnight, which I found weird. Mm-hmm. At her birthday party, Shane told Carly, "I love you. I would never let anything happen to you. You are beautiful." And as Carly later told her mother, had touched her in a sexual way. After a shopping trip together, Newman's increasingly erratic and possessive behavior at the party and inappropriate physical advances, including laying into Ryan's bed with her, he was told to leave by Sonia, who then began monitoring Ryan's internet usage more closely. Mm-hmm. Later, on the 19th of February, Ryan left the house for an apparent sleepover with friends, but after not returning the next day, the police were notified. The same morning at Horseshoe Bay in Port Elliot, Carly's battered and disheveled body was found floating face down in the shallow water, and attempts to revive her failed. The autopsy revealed 19 separate injuries, with 6 to 8 of them being blows to the head, and the cause of death with a combination of facial trauma, smothering, and drowning. It also revealed cannabinoids in Ryan's bloodstream and beach sand in her esophagus. Investigators examined security footage, which showed Carly in and around Port Elliot on February the 19th in the company of 2 men, and she was last seen alive by witnesses at the beach at 9:30 p.m. A pale blue vehicle used by the men led police to Mornington Peninsula, where a raid 11 days after the murder led to the arrest of Newman and the detention of Newman's younger son. When detectives located Gary in Victoria, they found him at his computer, logged in as Brandon Kane and talking with a 14-year-old girl in Western Australia.
Oh, wow.
They arrested him at that point and charged him with Carly's murder. A search revealed that Gary Newman had a notebook detailing some 200 online personas and other criminal attempts at grooming both in Australia and internationally. At trial, Newman, who was initially not identified to the media, acted erratically and initially denied meeting the teenager. Throughout his trial, Newman denied playing any part in Carly's death, claiming that he left the teen alive and well on the beach. He insisted he felt fatherly toward her and had no sexual interest in the girl. On January 21st, 2010, the trial lasted over 3 months, and Newman was sentenced to life imprisonment with a 29-year-old parole period. Justice Trish Kelly said, quote, Gary Newman deserves a life behind bars for his grossly perverted plan to deceive, seduce, and murder Carly. It was a terribly cruel thing you did to this beautiful, impressionable 15-year-old child. I say child because that's what she was, a child that fell in love with the idea of the handsome, musically inclined, and rather exotic Brandon Kane. The real man was, in fact, an overweight, balding, middle-aged pedophile with sex and murder on his mind. You were sexually obsessed with Carly to the degree that when you couldn't get your own way, you prepared to and did kill her. After his conviction, Sonia Ryan said she would never forgive the monster. She further said, quote, I hope he suffers, that he rots from the inside out, that he sees Carly's face every morning and is haunted for the rest of his miserable life. Thank God he can't hurt another innocent child, but it's frustrating that taxpayers will be paying for his breakfast cereal every morning. He had no right to take Carly's life, and it hurts that he still has the luxury of breathing. Newman's adopted son, who was a minor at the time and a witness to the killing, was cleared of all charges, and his identity remains suppressed. It was after the trial that Sonia Ryan helped to set up the Carly Ryan Foundation, which is a nonprofit charity created to promote internet safety. In 2013, the foundation began lobbying for a legal change to improve the protection of minors online, particularly given that 25% of teenage Australians are being contacted online by people they don't know.
Oh, wow.
The foundation also promoted safety awareness in Australia and New Zealand, such as the use of online contracts, and created a smartphone application called Thread as a personal safety app for children. Sonia said, nothing can give Carly her life back, but I will endeavor to honor her by moving forward to helping to prevent such an awful crime happening to another child. Sonia Ryan also received a South Australian of the Year award in 2013 for service to the community, as well as various other awards in 2017, 18, and 21. After a number of unsuccessful proposals by Senator Nick Zenon's team on the 25th of May 2017, a bill titled Criminal Code Amendment Protecting Minors Online, Bill 2017, was submitted to the Parliament of Australia. The purpose of the bill was to introduce an offense to criminalize acts done using a carriage service to prepare or plan to cause harm to, procure, or engage in sexual activity with a person under the age of 16. This expressly includes a person misrepresenting their age online as part of a plan to harm another person under 16 years of age. It proposed changes to 3 federal Australian laws, Criminal Code Act 1995, Criminal Acts 1914, and Telecommunications Intercept and Access Act of 1979. The amended bill was passed at the federal level and enacted into law on the 23rd of June 2017. A similar but tighter version of the law initially failed to pass the Legislative Council in South Australia in 2013. Later, following a petition, the amended bill was introduced by Attorney General Vicky Chapman and was passed by the Parliament of South Australia on July 5th, 2018, which made it an offense for an adult aged 18 year old to lie to a child about their age or who they are in an attempt to meet the child. And these amendments went into effect on August 13th, 2018. So I'll get on my soapbox for a minute, because cyber perverts are going to continue to prey on kids until we wake up and realize the risks of various online mediums, chat rooms, and social networking sites. What happened to Carly can happen to anyone. Remember, we covered the Casey Woody case.
People she was home and safe.
Yes, exactly. People that groom the young online are manipulating and controlling. They know exactly how to target a child. Online predators were just beginning to infiltrate the online world in 2006, but today you're going to find them preying on kids in popular social media apps such as Snapchat, Instagram, and gaming sites such as Roblox, and now Among Us. They have advanced their grooming techniques and have more knowledge on successfully targeting a child. They become the most important person in that child's life, and they use that trust to do whatever they like to their victims.
That's typical sociopathic behavior.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the internet's part of our daily lives. We're on it. We're all on it every day. It's essential that children, teens, and young adults learn how to navigate the World Wide Web safely. There are some tips that I have that you can apply today. I know that kids think of this as overbearing and overprotective. Install a parental monitoring app. Some of the apps are Net Nanny, Bark, and My Mobile Watchdog. Do your research, find out which one will work best for you and your family dynamics, but have one. Check your child's device weekly. Even if you have the monitoring app, technology can't watch everything, and it is not a matter of invading their privacy. What your child does online is for the whole world to see, and it's your duty as a parent to know what type of behavior your child is engaging in online. And last but not least, have the tough conversations. Talk to them about your expectations of use while they have access to their device and the consequences when they violate the guidelines. Talk to them openly about the dangers and that you want to keep them safe, and don't be pressured by other parents or your child's friends to give into online activities that you don't feel comfortable with. So I know that was kind of short and I got on a soapbox in the end, but that is the story of the murder of Carly Ryan.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Yeah, not a good story, but I think it is good info. I think it's something that our listeners need to hear and know that this stuff is real. It's out there, and the internet is inherently not a safe place. It's the information superhighway, and it has so much out there. But
we wouldn't have our kids just walk willy-nilly on the freeway. So
yeah, same sort of thing. Exactly. So thanks for taking that journey with me, and thanks for sticking with me as I got on my soapbox for a minute.
That's okay.
That'll take us to the end of recording week. As always, you can find our hub for everything we talk about on nerderymurdery.com. It's where we have links and pictures for the things we talked about. Plus, you can find the link to our YouTube on our front page, which Zig works so hard on.
Well, thank you, sir. Yes, not only is it, the YouTube have the playlists of things that we talked about, which you can see actually before the episode airs, we also put the episode on that playlist as well, so you can go and see the whole thing, top to bottom.
Thank you so much for your work on that. Sure. You can also find the link to our merchandise page, where if you wish to show off your Nerdery Murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from there. That, along with our Patreon, does our patrons help to keep our show on the air. There are costs that are associated with it, production, keeping our show broadcast. So please do consider either merchandise or becoming a patron to help us out with the cost of our show. It really does help us.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. And last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It helps us and it helps others find our information that may be looking for the content that we're talking about. So with that,
I have been Zig with your Nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery.
Cue the music.